yeah, so I was in a dealership, and then yeah, Deanna texted me, said, "Oh, the power's out." On the way out, while she's going to teach her class, and then I got the text message from AT&T, saying, "Oh, the internet's going to be out until tomorrow." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, this is just." And on
Yeah,
top
that's
of that, like
crazy.
taking the dealership was just taking off freaking day, and I wasn't expecting it to take that long
What a
and everything like
surprise.
that.
No, that's the process, dude. You got to do that. Like I was surprised you were going on a weeknight cuz yeah, that's a they're the back and forth in a dealer is the fucking worst. Like it's like, "Oh, let me go talk to my manager," and they go sit in the break room for fucking 20 minutes and then they come back.
Yeah.
Fucking hate that shit.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get it done. I mean, you saw my car, so I needed to get a new
Mhm.
car. It was nothing wrong with it as far
Well,
as driving
yes,
wise, but
you got it.
yeah, I got it. Yeah,
Ooh, nice. What'd you get?
a Mustang.
You're a fucking degenerate, man. Oh my god. Like a newer model though? Like a new
Yeah,
model?
I got a
Okay.
newer model. It's a premium edition. Um, I only had 80,000 miles on it, which is
Mhm.
pretty good. It only had one owner, it was an old guy and everything like that. It's a 2017. Um, and I put down a lot of money for it. So, my monthly pay, I'm going to pay it off by the end of the year anyway, so it don't matter. But yeah,
Nice.
it's the model I wanted and everything like that. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm probably going to stick with it for a while. I'm going to take care of this car. My first Mustang was like my first test car, to be honest with you. Actually, I was working with you when I bought that car.
Yeah, I want to say it was 2019 maybe you got it?
2018, actually.
2018 you got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've had it for 6 years. That's a long time, dude, for a
Yeah.
car.
So,
I've had
and
my
it
car
still
for
ran.
8 years. Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it still ran really good. Like I had another at least 3 or 4 years in that car. To be honest with you.
So why didn't you just run it into the ground, man? You had some money to burn. You're like, I want a nice ass Mustang.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was getting to the point though, Justin. I was like ashamed. I was just taking Deanna car, or we went out somewhere. I was like, we're
Oh
just gonna
my
take your car.
god.
Yeah, because the car was like ugly, man. It was beat up. It was beat up, and I didn't feel like putting the money into it to fix some of the body damage and everything like that. So I
Mhm.
was just like, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of it. And they only gave me like $500 for it. to
What the
trade it.
fuck? Oh my god. Wow.
Yeah. They only gave me $500 for the trade in. So I
You should have just
knew,
Craigslisted that, man. Oh my god.
yeah, I should have, but
You're
honestly,
being
I
you're being
probably
lazy. You don't
I
want
was
to deal
being
with it.
lazy. Yeah, I didn't want to deal with that.
It's fine. I wouldn't either. I to be honest, I wouldn't either. So, well, you guys missed narrow miss on the solo Justin episode this week. I already was recording. I think I was going for about 28 minutes. I think when you texted me.
Okay, I
So
figured you were done. Actually, I'm like, he's probably
no,
done.
well, dude, I was sitting here. I was sitting here doing it. Like, even if I finish and you text me saying you're good, like you're online, I was probably gonna re-record anyways because I
Okay.
just I didn't want to record by myself this week for some reason. I don't know. Like, I get hyped about the show over the course of the week as I add stories to the doc,
Mhm.
and I was like, I like the slate we have. I feel like there's some good conversation in here. And unfortunately, talking about some of this stuff by myself though is like it was like 2 minutes. I had like 2 minutes of thoughts, and you're just moving on. It's like not in depth conversation because there's no back and forth. Um, so yeah, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I really wanted to join too. I was like, man, this is gonna take because I already set pre up. I set everything up preemptively because I've been car shopping for like a week, and I just told my wife yesterday. I
Mhm.
was like, I'm car shopping, and she was like, okay, if you really want to do it, go for it. So I thought I had everything set up, but my bank was being weird. I'm like, I told my bank like, hey, probably gonna make a big purchase today. Um,
Yep.
so
Oh, did
up
they
my
they give?
limit. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I gotta go back tomorrow to pay off like the rest of my down payment, because they cut me off at a certain point. So I gotta go back tomorrow and I'm gonna call the bank to tomorrow morning and tell them like, hey, I'm gonna make a big purchase today. Please up my limit for 24 hours, just up the limit so I can make the
Yep.
big purchase and then I'm gonna go,
Yep.
whatever. So yeah. But
Fair
that's
enough.
pretty much, I mean, that's been my day. Like I plan on doing the podcast. I plan on studying and then going to bed. But now I have to study double tomorrow. I'm probably not gonna be able to play my game tomorrow, which is okay. I'll be okay.
Well, yeah, because what I was gonna do normally, I would have just told you like, okay, I'll post something on Twitter. We've done it before, where I'll post something on Twitter. We're delaying the recording until tomorrow, but I'm going out tomorrow night to play some poker, so I'm booked, so I
You
can't
play fucking
record.
poker?
Yeah, man, we started playing Hold'em. Our group of Magic buddies, they wanted to play Hold'em, and I'm all about that shit, you know.
Yeah.
So we started playing. We did a like kind of a test session a month ago, and we're kind of rolling into it now. We're gonna start trying to play it once a month.
Okay.
Which is it was really fun. I'm actually really excited about it. So yeah, I'm booked tomorrow, and we can't delay the podcast any further than one day probably. Generally, so yeah. I was just going in for it. I was like, all right, well, I'll just fucking record it by myself. It's fine. But so happy we're here. We did roll in cold open. So hi everybody, welcome to the Players Take. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, as always, Montrell Rice. This is episode 268. And I'm just gonna roll right into the rigmarole.
Yes,
We
sir.
post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube Music, and your favorite podcast app of choice. I did fuck that up in my solo recording of the episode, and I nailed it that time. Fuck you, YouTube Music. If you have questions, you can send them to us on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Montreal, let's just jump right into it. We are recording late here, so I don't want to dilly dally too much. Let's just jump into what we've been playing. So, you want to go first, or do you like me to go?
You can go first.
Okay, so mostly same thing for me that I've been playing, which is Unicorn Overlord. I am working my way through this game. I am at the end of the 4th region right now, and man, I'm starting to hit a little bit of that wall, that fatigue, with the game. Because it's a really fun game, but I think I'm at 70 or 80 hours right now of playtime on this game, and I've been playing it for 3.5 weeks since I finished Rebirth, and it's just a really long game, dude. There's just so much. There's so many battles, and the problem with it is, this is kind of the biggest issue, is pacing of the game is such that you cannot mainline this game. There's not a way to just like, you can't just like go through the main story missions and that's it. You kind of have to do the side content in this game, because the main missions are spaced out enough in terms of their levels that you will be underleveled if you try to do that. And at a certain point, you will be significantly underleveled. I'm talking like 5+ levels, which it would be very difficult for you to win those battles. Which maybe it would be fun; it would make the game a little more challenging. But I think at a certain point, you would hit a wall that you couldn't overcome. You'd have to go do side content in the game. So I've been doing all the side content up to this point, every battle, every side quest, all of it. And even I am underleveled though, given that right now I'm 2 levels under the game's current level requirement for the main battles. And it's just a little frustrating given the fact that I've been doing fucking everything in the fucking game, so the game's pacing in that regard, in terms of your characters leveling and your units leveling and everything, is a little off. They didn't quite get that right. And to me, it's like it's dragging the game out, because I feel like I have to do all the side content now, in order to
It kind of reminds me of
yeah.
Xenoblade Chronicles X. X did the same thing where you had to do the
That
side content because the main
yes,
missions will lock you out. I don't know if
correct.
this locks you out,
It
but
does not lock you out, but
okay.
you're gonna hit a wall that you can't overcome at some point, though. Like the
Okay.
stat disparity between your units and the AI's units will be so large that you won't be able to win.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, like I was severely underleveled for this 4th region. I went into it. It starts at level 25 and goes to level 30, and I came out of the 3rd region around level 21, 22, which was actually underleveled for the end of that region, which was around 25. And I've been underleveled for this entire region, and I'm not having trouble with the battles. Like 3 or 4 levels is not too hard to overcome in this game, but it is making it so that like I feel like I have to do every battle though to kind of get experience to catch up, because some of these later regions, there's really only like three story quests, and they're spread over 5 to 10 levels. So the elf region, the third region, is a good example where they start you at level 15, 16, 17 area, and then they end at level 25. But there's like three main story quests in the whole region, maybe four. And like the first one is 16, I think, or 17, and then the second one is like 19 or 20. And that one battle is not enough for you to gain those three levels. Like it's just doesn't work like that in this game. So you come out of that first battle at level 17 or 18, and you're like 2 levels behind, which again, like I said, is surmountable. You can surmount that, but then you do that battle, and then the next battle is level 23, and you're level 19 now. It's like the gap widens every battle. So that's kind of the main issue with the game, I find, is that it kind of like, I'm not going to say it forces you to do all the side content, but it's really encouraging you to with these gaps that it builds into the main story quests. And yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles X is probably a good comparison in terms of structure. Obviously, nothing else about the games is similar,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just that structure and how they kind of space out the main quest and what level requirements you have is definitely a good comparison there for sure. And I don't think that's going to be everybody's cup of tea. If you're the type of person who likes the mainline games and doesn't want to do side content, this is not the game for you. You're gonna be like, I think at a minimum, if you were trying to blitz through this game as fast as humanly possible, I think you could probably do it in 60 or 70 hours, maybe. um if you're trying to full complete it, that's probably like I am, it's probably going to be more like 100 to 120, somewhere in there.
Okay.
um so it's a huge game as a result, and tactics games are like this isn't like this isn't like different for the genre necessarily, but I will say the deeper I get into the game, I'm getting a little fatigued with the gameplay loop. It's not that hard. I said this before a couple weeks ago. The game is not that complicated. It's only as complicated as you want to make it, but you don't have to go that deep into the game to be successful at it. Ultimately, it just comes down to, can your units beat the enemy units? Like it's as simple as that. And if you're playing on lower difficulties, there are no limits on the number of items you can use. And given that, you can literally just abuse the shit out of items and win the fucking game. Like there's no challenge there. I'm playing on the highest difficulty, so there is a 10 item limit per battle that you can use, which is actually a limit that does make the battles a little bit more challenging. It's never been a barrier that's caused me any problems up to this point, but I have had to think about the way I use items somewhat. I can't
Okay.
just use them willy nilly in on that difficulty level. So if you're playing on lower difficulties though, like dude, you just fucking use them. It's like there's no limit to it. You can just heal your units, and you can give them power ups, and you can make them fucking move super fast, and shit. It's just like makes you like super OP. But um, so yeah, it's like, but it is getting to the point of a management side of it from a tactics game perspective is definitely certainly can be overwhelming if you're somebody who comes from Final Fantasy Tactics type games where you have very small squads that you're deploying, like 4 to 6 units. This is a game where you're deploying 50 at a time, and they all have individual equipment and abilities and gambits that you have to set up for every single one of them. And then the squads, you need to set up positioning for each unit within that squad. And that will change depending on what you're fighting, and you'll move them around and everything. And there's just a lot of management of the units in this game. That is a huge component of the game, and that is part of it. Where there are times where I'm spending an hour in menus just trying to equip my units with new equipment that I've accumulated over the course of like a few hours of playtime. And doing that every few hours is starting to get annoying. It's not it's not the most fun thing to go in and be like, oh, I got a new sword that gives this unit +1 attack, and that's all it gives them. Well, I should probably equip it, it's better, but it's like it's almost not worth the time at a certain point. You really should wait maybe a little bit longer than I'm waiting. Like maybe wait, like if you think you have enough equipment to go in and like change everyone's equipment out, well, maybe wait like 3 or 4 more hours and then do it, because then it will be worth it. You'll have gotten a significant enough upgrade for everybody that it's like actually worth spending that time.
Mhm.
So yeah, the game's just huge. It's a big game. I'm ready to move on to something else that's more manageable. Stellar Blade may be that game for me, but we'll see on that front. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing though. What about you?
Uh, man, I okay. Don't laugh at me. All right,
Oh
you gotta
no.
promise you won't laugh at me.
Oh no. Are you playing
All right.
League? I mean,
Yeah,
you
I
told me you're
am.
playing League.
Yeah, I'm playing League. But um I was playing it in between studying and um I don't know if I'm getting old
Uh oh.
or
Yeah.
if the game is bad or that my teammates are bad. I don't know. And I try not to blame my teammates. So I'm assuming it's me. But I checked my OPGG and they have it now to where they can read your games and tell you like, you were performing above, your teammates let you down or something like that, whatever the case may be. They'll let you know like how you were doing or whatever. And there were a couple games where I admit like I was struggling. But then like the overwhelming majority of the games, I was like you played excellent or your teammates let you down type stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like I went on, I was okay. So I went on the win streak. I won 10 games in a row, and I was like on the cusp of being gold one, right? Or
Oh
not
yeah.
gold one, but like
Gold
gold
3.
four,
Gold 4. Yeah.
going into gold four. I was a silver one, like with like 90 LP or something like that. So I need to
Mhm.
win one more game. Then I go into my promos, and I win like three in a row or three out of the five, and then I would be in uh gold. Which I've been in gold before, so that's not a problem. I don't know what happened. I'm on an 11 game losing streak. I have,
Whoa.
I have never been on a losing streak this
Oh.
bad
Wow. I
before.
have certainly, but it doesn't
Um,
feel good.
yeah, I've never been on a losing streak this bad before in my entire league life. It maybe it's like 5 games, maybe it's 3 games, but 11 games straight is crazy to me. And I'm it's to the point I'm reanalyzing my games and I'm like, bro, there's nothing I could have done better in this position. There's nothing I could have done better in this position or whatever. And then there were a couple games where I'm like, it was one game like a Heimerdinger mid, and I play Silas exclusively mid. And he fucking wrecked Silas mid. And
Mhm.
I actually looked it up and people were just like, fucking ban him. So like I start banning Heimerdinger because he fucked me up that game. It was crazy how bad he fucked me up. Because I literally couldn't do nothing in lane. But yeah, I would. It seems like my late game like just falls off a fucking cliff, and it's not because I'm doing too much or I'm overextending or whatever. It's because like my team literally does not know how to coordinate what they have, and I would try to coordinate with my team and I don't flame them or anything like that. I actually have everything on mute, so I don't flame, um, or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's just like I don't know if people are bad this year. I've heard the ranked is bad, but I'm not trying to blame it on that. Um, but it's like it's really bad, bro. Like I was in silver and I got two actual bots. Like how we joke and call people bots. I
Yeah.
had two actual bots in the bot lane and they were just standing there. They ran
Oh my
up,
god.
they auto, and it happened like 3 times to me, and I'm like, bro, ranked isn't a terrible spot. I don't know what's going on with Lee. I personally
Well,
cannot wait for Vanguard, bro. Like, just put
yeah.
Vanguard on my computer at this point because
I
I think a lot
Take it
of
over,
people,
Riot. Take it
yeah,
over.
man. I honestly think, bro, because like
Mm.
it's not even like a skill issue, right? It's
Yeah.
like there are certain things where I'm watching people play, and I'm like, bro, there's no way they hit that skill shot like that. Like you're silver, bro. Like there's no way you're hitting skill shots like this. And
Yeah.
it was just, and I understand like the skill level for silvers have grown exponentially since like 3 or 4
Yeah, but
years
it's like
ago,
the third from the bottom tier, dude. Like
bro.
it's not
I
like we're talking about like the middle of the pack, of like, platinum or whatever. Like that's like the middle tier, I think, or maybe
Yeah,
it's gold, I think. I don't know. It's one of
platinum
those
is in the
two.
middle tier, yeah, because they
Yeah,
got
so
emerald, so
like
platinum's
that's
in the
the
middle tier.
middle of the pack, right? Of the game. So anything below that should be subpar, not great players. So you shouldn't be hitting skill shots like you're in the fucking worlds.
Man,
Um
I'm telling you, and I know how to dodge skill shots. I mean, I've been playing Silas for like the past 5 years or 4 years,
mm,
whenever he got released, and like even when I jungle and stuff like that too, right? Um, it's just like teammates make really bad calls. Um, they don't know when
new
to.
map.
It has to be the new app or something, bro.
Well,
Because
I was thinking two things: the new map and the fact the community got used to mythics over years, and
yeah,
that
that could be a thing.
removing that changed the way you have to play League. And this is an adjustment I think we all had to make. And I wasn't. I'm. I like it's a little bit of a struggle after playing with mythics for so long. Is you really have to think about your items. Like you
Yeah,
can't just brain dead build the same thing every game. You know.
yeah,
Um, and that is that I am sure that is a struggle point for a lot of people right now.
yeah. But it's like 10 games in a row. I'm obviously
Mm.
the common denominator in this factor, and it's
Well, you don't
like
know that. You don't know that. These other
I
some of these other people that you're playing with could be losing a lot too. You don't know that.
yeah, and I really think there's a losers queue, like
Yeah.
legitimately, because even when I carry them, and I would like roam or okay, it was this one game, man. Like it was a Katarina mid, and she only solo killed me one time in lane, and it was like early in the game, so it didn't really matter, right? So I was like, okay, I'm 1-0, I'm 0-1 right now, whatever. And then I killed her solo again. I killed her solo, so we are even in lane, and then I'm pushing up the lane so she can't roam, but then she's pushing it
Mm.
back so she can roam. And I'm Justin. I am pinging furiously. I even turned off chat, man, because I know when Katarina's in the game, I have to turn off chat. So I mean, I ain't turned off like I turned it on rather, and I said, "Hey, Katarina's coming bot. Katarina's coming bot. Please look out. Please do not, go past river. Katarina's coming bot." And
I
you know
mean,
how
just
easy bot
back,
lane.
bro. At this point, with the new map, back,
Yeah,
just back.
yeah,
She's
because
gonna kill
we're
you.
yeah, because we're on the side where they can gank. I think it's
Yeah.
blue side. We're on that side now.
No, red side,
Red side.
top
So
side,
red,
right? The top side.
yeah, the top side of the bot lane.
Yeah.
So we were on that side of the map, and you know how they have like several spots to gank from that area. I mean, we played down
Yep.
there.
Oh, it's
So
miserable.
yeah, and I told him like, hey, there she's missing. She's missing. She's missing. I would type it and put the little ping. She's missing. Double kill. Triple kill. I'm like, oh my fucking god, bro. I just
Jungler went too.
and it just kept happening all fucking game.
That's
And it's
amazing.
Katarina, so once she gets like 5 kills, it's over. The
You're
game's over
done.
already.
She's deleting you the second
Yeah,
she clicks on you, dude. Like her skill shots are a delete button.
yeah, man. And I was so frustrated. I ended the game like 4-6 or something like that. So I didn't die that many times. But she had 22 kills. I was just like, how am I supposed to? I literally told my team, like I'm silent, so I can't push the way I want to push. First of all, my jungler, I tried to blame my jungler, but it's like when your lane is pushed, like your jungler should be able to sense that and be like, all right, maybe gank or just show presence so that I can scare them into not doing this anymore. The jungler wasn't showing any presence. So I'm like, all right. After that game, I'm like, whatever, bro. I'll just go jungle. So I jungle, right? And I forgot to ban Shaco. And Shaco and Evelyn
Uh,
are the two most. I can deal with Evelyn because she doesn't have true stealth.
yeah.
Shaco has true stealth. So even when you place control wards, he can just walk past them or whatever
Oh,
for a
it doesn't
short.
reveal him?
No, he can walk past
Oh,
those.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's
Yeah,
fucking brutal, dude.
he has true stealth for about 4 seconds. So that's the way they balance it, right? He can only do it for like 4 or 5 seconds, but he legitimately has true stealth. And because I tested it, um, I put a ward like I'm in lane or whatever, and I put a ward like right where the lane opens up to Raptors, and I put a ward right there, a control ward. So he came from that route, and it didn't reveal him. I'm like, wow, he really does have true stealth, or or maybe I'm missing something. But man, like when I
Should
tell
watch the
you,
replay to confirm that. That would be
yeah,
something worth knowing.
I gotta watch the replay. But I'm like, man,
Because
please
maybe he
put
deceived
control.
over the wall or something, and
Yeah, maybe he did. Yeah.
you just didn't see it.
But he wasn't even killing me. He was eating off bot lane again, man. And I don't. I even tweeted, and I deleted the tweet though. But I was like, I don't know if bot lane people are just mentally ill or mentally unstable or like slow players. They're legitimately the worst players in the game, bar none. And I tried to blame, and I'm trying to give it benefit of the doubt because like, okay, lane changes or whatever, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like the lane changes have been out for about 6 months now. You know where the ward at. You know the routes people are taking at this point. Pay attention. And like when we're down there, we're hyper aware. Like, okay, we're pushing up too far. I haven't, and even I'll tell you, right, as a support, I'll tell you, like, hey, I think we're pushing up too far. I don't know where the enemy jungler's at. I think he's like by us or whatever. Or unless I see the jungler up top ganking, I'm like, all right, we can still push or whatever. Okay, so be that's like the support. That's the role of the support.
Yeah.
I don't know if bot lane people are just like blind, or they don't use their mini map, or, and I'm not even joking. I am dead serious. I think people who play bot lane have a low IQ. There should be some type of test.
Yeah.
For bot lane people. People who play Yasuo and bot lane people. I think those players have low IQs, bro. Like, not even joking with you, not even trying to, like, there are only certain, and if you can climb in, and then it's like the opposite, right? If you climb exclusively playing bot lane and support, your IQ has to be that of Einstein, because that lane is so mentally ill. Like, I tried to support in that lane, and I'm just like, I can't do it. My ADC is just, if it's not you, like, they just don't understand. Like, I play physical supports or whatever. Yeah. So I play like Alistair and Leona.
Yeah.
So I understand, like, hey, we're probably gonna lose from level 1 through 3. If they got like Bran, or maybe even Lux, or I can deal with Lux, but like Bran or somebody like pokes Xerath, Bran, or Morgana. I'm like, we're probably gonna lose the 1v5. From level 1 through 5, we're gonna lose.
The second we can go in, once we're hardy enough and have enough skills to like go in on them, they're fucked.
Exactly.
It happens every game we play like that. Like, where you're playing Leona, or like if I play Nyla, dude, it happens every fucking game. Like, where they like bully us early, and then the second we hit level 3, they're fucking done, dude. Like, they're done. Like, they get fucking steamrolled. It's hilarious because they get high off the early game, and they get all confident and think they're in a good spot, and then we're just like, no, we just didn't have any skills, bro. Like, it's like,
and the common thing for you to do against a poke lane like that is to let them push, and then you freeze the wave. You're forcing them to come up to your tower.
Correct. Right.
So they have to worry about jungle pressure. Then on top of that, if I go in on them, you can follow up, and they have a long way to go back to the tower.
Flash isn't enough. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would tell them, hey, freeze the lane right here, or whatever. And I understand freezing is like a dumb concept, or not dumb, but like kind of an advanced concept for like silver players, whatever. Okay, cool. I'm like, okay, just, last hit right here, we're in a good spot. And then if we push the wave up, I hope push the wave all the way to tower so it can bounce back to us, or bounce back in even. Bro, when I tell you, they would clear the wave, like, because the other team is clearly bad. They would clear the wave, and they'll still try to come up and poke with no minions or nothing, and they'd be low like mana. I would go in, my ADC still farming. I'm like, bro, help me! I got chat restricted one time because I called my ADC a fucking retard. I was like, you fucking retard. I'm so mad now, and I don't mean to say that word like that, but I was so fucking mad because I had both of them dead to rights. And they were just like, and they even typed in chat, your ADC sucks. Like, you had us. And I'm like,
I'm going to defend the ADCs a little bit here. So, because this happens to me sometimes too. It's not like I'm immune to it, right? When you're an ADC, your primary job is the farm. You're trying to farm. That's what you're supposed to do. That's like your number one priority. Obviously, if a kill opportunity comes up, you need to go for it, right? That's kind of probably what separates a good ADC from a bad one. But there's been you remember that time with Jet? That was my retard, like, I'm a fucking dumbass, rando ADC moment.
I do remember that because I was watching it. I was like, you're not gonna help him?
I was so on autopilot, man. So it happens. Okay, I'm not necessarily defending how often these people do that. It's not like I do that every game. I'm just, it does happen sometimes, though. It's like you just get in a zone and you're like, you're just really focused on last hitting.
And I understand that, and I let it go that first time, but it kept continuously happening.
Yeah,
and I was just like, you know what? Forget it, bro.
No, once it happened, right? Once you guys called me out on it, I was like, oh my god, you're totally. I was like, holy shit, you're totally right. I'm a fucking asshole, like. I didn't do it for the rest of that game. I probably didn't do it the rest of that night, but
No,
it's
you
like,
didn't, but it happened,
yeah,
and then you're like you corrected it, right?
yeah.
So it was one game, bro. I legit me as a support legitimately brought the team back from the brink of destruction. Like my Kaiser was bad, so I'm like, you know what? Level 5, I'm roaming. So I started roaming, and then everybody was getting fed on the map, except for the Kaiser. She was complete butt cheeks. Everybody was getting fed on the map, and then we turned the game around, and this is when I got really fucking irritated. Dog. They even said in chat, we threw the game. Sorry. It was 38 minutes. We got Baron. We aced the enemy team, but three of us died. They're pushing. The mid lane is pushing, but and the top laner is pushing, but they don't have enough means to push. So they push as far as they can. They get like two two Nexus things or whatever. And then they're supposed to back. I'm like, back. Just back, bro. Just back. For some reason, they ran back to mid lane and then they just ran back up.
They tried to 2v5 the enemy team.
Bro, because the team spawned like, in waves or whatever, right? So it was like maybe one person had 20 seconds, two people had 20 seconds, another person had 40 seconds, and then one person had like 30 seconds or 40 seconds after that. So the two people came up and they were durable enough to where they held the line and they were fighting the ADC because we were still down. We had long spawn timers and they held it down to where 5 seconds later their teammates can come back and hold it. And I was just like, just back, just back, just back. And they fought it, and then they lost. And then they just pushed. They immediately pushed and won. The enemy team did. I was so mad because we had that game in the bag. Like all we had to do was wait, and I was so mad. And the team, my mid laner, and my jungle, or my mid laner and my top laner was like, yeah, we threw that. I just muted. I legitimately deleted the game. Like I deleted League off my computer after that game. I was so mad, bro. I've never been that mad. I was so Justin. When I tell you I was so mad because I was like 7 games in of losing, and I'm just like, and this is not in one night. This is like over the course of like 2 or 3 nights.
Well, it's even worse in that situation.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm like, bro, I just need a win. Like I just need a win. Just give me one
No,
win.
League's gonna give you like the dumbest. It's gonna feel like you're playing against bots. You're gonna get that win, and it's gonna be like the stupidest game ever, where
It,
like your team is like 30-2,
yeah,
or
and
something.
they did give me that. So they gave me that win last night. And then it immediately went back to like shit teammates. I shitted on the enemy mid laner. I
Oh
I went
no!
15-1, 15-2 in one game. And I'm like, because I'm all the way down to bronze now. I'm bronze 1 right now.
What?
Yeah, bro.
Whoa!
I'm bronze
Oh
1.
shit, that's
Like,
brutal.
yeah, the LP, I was losing 50 LP per game, bro.
You're
50.
fucking with me. You're not winning that much per game, are you?
No.
That's insane. What the fuck are they doing?
I don't know. I got bumped all the way from silver 1 to
What?
bronze 1. And I can't even win. I won that bronze game, and then the next game I lost it. I lost the bronze game, and I looked at the replay, and I literally don't know what happened. I was just like, you know what? It's to the point now. I'm not even mad anymore. I'm just like, y'all gonna fuck it up somehow. Like I can carry the game, and y'all gonna fuck it up. Like it,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And I tried to lead the team. I tried to say, hey, let's get Baron, then push, because that's what you're supposed to do. Like if you have the opportunity to get Baron, you can push with Baron. It's more, whatever. Um, and then, yeah, man, like my team, they don't get it. And you know what? I'm done. I'm not done, but I'm done being upset about it. So I was playing last night and I lost 2 in a row, and I wasn't even upset. I was just like, it is what it is at this point, man.
Man, we gotta play, man. Let's just we gotta do it. I'll save you, okay? You support me bottom, and we'll you know what? At least we'll know two of the players are okay. It's like,
Yeah, man. Because I played with Salty. He jungled with me one game from one ranked game, and I dominated that game. And
yeah,
I'm like, bro, I literally just need like one more person with me. Like that's it. Because
yeah,
because the plays I be trying to make, people just don't get it, and I'm like, you don't understand what's going on in this game. How are you even? I don't know, man. That's that. I talked too much about League already. So, damn, it's only been 34 minutes, but I feel like I talked a long time. But anyway,
You're good.
uh,
Pent up
yeah, man.
energy.
It's been a rough week. They patched Rise of Ronin too, so I might go back and play that. I did play a little bit for like an hour yesterday. Um, the parrying feels a lot better. I don't know if it's like a placebo thing or whatever, but they did do some tweaks and things of that nature here and there. So I might go back and play it. And I checked because I was parrying people like left and right after not playing the game for like 4 days, and I was like, did I adjust the difficulty? And it's still on Twilight, so I think they actually did do something with the parry timers and everything like that in the notes and the patch notes and stuff like that because they got like 4 patches over the course of 2 weeks.
Oh
So
wow. Okay. That's good.
yes, I think I still think the game's good, but I may put it down because it's like same thing with like Unicorn Overlord. The game's just too fucking long, man. It's too long, but at least in Unicorn Overlord has the same issue where the story's not the best. So it's like you're literally just playing it for the gameplay, and that's how I feel
Yeah,
with
and even that, dude, like in Unicorn Overlord, right? Like when you enter a battle, like your unit, you're fighting an enemy unit or
yeah.
enemy squad. The game, like I mentioned, this game gives you a preview, right? It'll tell you how much damage you're going to take and how much damage the enemy's going to take. So if you run up against that and the enemy is going to die and your unit's going to take no damage, like I don't even watch the battles anymore. I just hit start and skip it. Like it doesn't play the animation for you, and that saves you time, obviously, over the course of the game. But even with that, this game is so big, dude. It's like, these battles take an hour plus, some of the really large ones. Um, so it's like, I don't know. It's just a
Yeah.
huge game. And the one more thing about the game I actually didn't mention is the battles. I didn't talk about the battles actually. They are getting more complex and larger as I'm
Mhm.
getting deeper into the game, and that is cool and they're fun and they're definitely like stretching how far the units I have can really go. It was actually a battle I did last night where I was fighting 2 armies at once and I was in the middle of them. And that was actually a really challenging battle. That was a really fucking cool battle to do. So the game definitely has some fun moments in it. But there are just too many times where it's just such a like boring, mindless, like you're just gonna steamroll the battle, and it's like you don't even really need to think about it, and you're just going through the motions. And it's like that's the problem with a game that doesn't have a good story. It's like when the gameplay starts getting into that loop too, where you're feeling like you're going through the motions, it's kind of starting. That's where the fatigue starts to set in. And I think you're going through that same thing with Ronin.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like I'm just starting to get a little bit fatigued and everything like that. So I don't know. That DLC did come out, Rising Tide for Final Fantasy 16. That did drop today. So I actually may partake
You
in
still
that.
have Rebirth. You didn't. You
I
never.
mean,
You didn't
yeah,
play.
I mean, yeah, I don't think I will play
Oh
that.
my god. Oh man.
I
Man,
just,
what is it with Rebirth? Like, did
I don't.
did the conversation around it get to you, or is it just the game? Like,
I
or is
think
it
it's
just
just the game. I'm removed. I'm totally removed from the conversation.
okay?
I think it's just the game right now. Like I don't. I need to get past that area that y'all talking about and then just move forward. And I think I'm going to do that. I just don't feel like doing it right now,
Like
unfortunately.
next time you play it, stop. Don't do any side content. Just go straight to the next story cutscene. Like that's it.
Okay.
Like the
Okay.
second you do that, the game is gonna get way better. Like, so I don't know. It's
Okay.
just funny that
I'm
it's
gonna do
funny
it.
that you like did that to yourself, where you like slogged to a point where it's like you're not having fun in the area you're in, which is not a great area necessarily, but the story in that second part of chapter 4 is just so good. It's like super good, and you just stop. You're like the digger, like the miner who like stops right before they find all the fucking diamonds.
Mhm.
You know that meme?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're that guy like that with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yeah, man. I'll give it a shot. I don't know, man. It's just yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. I give it another shot. Um, I don't know. League still pissing me off though. I'm still thinking about that. This has been a fucking terrible week for League. This has been the worst. Like I said, this has probably been the worst uh um thing I've ever done, or worst I've ever been as far as league. Um,
Man, you should
so
just get on the Discord, man. They're like desperate for someone to get on.
they're not gonna play league.
I think they will. I think they're desperate enough. Like Jet was over my house this weekend, and he's like, "Man, it's just like me and Brad, bro. You know, it's like he wants someone else to jump on. I think he wants to play something else. So I don't know. It can't hurt to ask, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It can't hurt to ask. And
Plus,
I
if you say
will.
something in the chat, I mean, I might jump on. Fuck, you know.
Yeah, I thought everyone was like outside the chat, so I was just like, it's I don't know. It's pretty crazy. I don't know, man. Like, and then the other day I played because like right now I'm in the middle of school, so it's like I think another reason why I'm not really wrapping my head around single player games right now is because I can't really focus on it enough. I need like quick action and then getting out. I can't play because majority of the time I only have like an hour to 2 hours to play a game, and then I need to go.
Yeah,
And
Rebirth's not great for that.
Rebirth and Rise of the Ronin is not great for
Well,
that. And
Prince of
I
Persia,
thought,
man, it's still sitting there.
yeah, that's true. I do have Prince of Persia, but I like I was like, okay, this is a perfect opportunity for me to just play a multiplayer game. I can get, I can jump into Helldivers real quick, do like 2 or 3 missions, and then go to bed. I can do League, do a couple games, and then go to bed. So that's why I've been playing the multiplayer games. And then as soon as I'm out of class again, I'm going to be playing. I'm going to binge a whole bunch of single player games again. Y'all probably not going to hear from me again. So, uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, um, yeah, I think I can just. I think I am just going to do the multiplayer way for right now, and then just text y'all like, hey, I'm going to be on for like an hour or two if y'all want to play. Y'all want to play a couple games with me, or whatever.
If you're
So
looking for a break from ranked, like I feel like you're grinding yourself into dust with it.
yeah, because it stimulates my brain. It gets me ready to study. Um, but yeah, man, it's fucking ranked is not in a good spot. And I actually looked it up. A lot of people are complaining about ranked right now. You know what game I am glad that I'm not playing anymore? I actually uninstalled it. Like I don't have it on my computer or nothing.
Oh yeah.
Apex Legends.
Yeah.
I completely uninstalled that from my PlayStation and my computer. That game's in the fucking terrible spot, bro. Like people can try to fake like it's not, but I watched the news about that shit and the hackers and people getting their accounts hacked and all that shit. I'm good, man. Y'all
What
can
a
have that
joke.
shit, man. That game's fucking terrible, bro.
I'm so sad. Apex was so good, man. You know, like back when we started playing it. I mean, God, it's been
Yeah.
like 4 years now since we started playing it, but you know, that was like season 4. I want to say, yeah, that was 2020. Now that I think about it, but yeah, dude, like back then, man, it was just such a it was so fresh and new, and it just was. There was not. I don't know. There was just. It didn't feel like there was as much bullshit as there is now. I mean, maybe that's just like nostalgia talking, but yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine playing Apex. I actually did delete it myself off my computer a few weeks ago. Um, I just oh that's right, I did it on the show. I was like looking at my Steam list, but yeah. So I feel you on that. It sucks. I like I want a competitive shooter to play right now. Like I'd love to find one, and obviously I know Helldivers is a shooter, but it's not competitive. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know why that game for some reason just doesn't get me going. I'm not enthused to like jump on and play it for some reason. So um which is my own problem to sort out, but so I feel you on that. But you playing anything else?
No, that's it. Oh, well, I did download the emulators that Nintendo's probably going to kill in like a month. But I downloaded it and got it on my computer before they did it, or on my phone before they're going to do it. So I've been playing Pokemon Soul Silver, which, my God, literally the best Pokemon game ever. So
Yep.
good. Yeah, man.
Well, Heart Gold.
I mean, okay, you were a
They're the
gold
same game.
person.
They're the same game.
They're the same game, but I was a silver guy.
I
Okay.
know. I'm a gold. I'm a gold guy. Oh baby. Give me that rainbow bird, motherfucker.
Did you download the emulator and stuff?
Nah,
DJ put everything in there.
I don't care.
Okay.
I have a cartridge of Heart Gold, so
Oh,
like
okay, yeah. So you're all
I
right
can
then.
yeah. most of the old games that I'd want to play, I own. Like
Okay.
I've made a concerted effort over the last, I'd say, 3 generations of consoles probably, to really keep the stuff that is like I really really enjoyed. I don't sell like the super great games. I don't, Witcher 3, I still own my copy of that. Like I have my Kingdom Hearts copies. I have Near Automata, I have that copy. I have, so the games that like the games I'm coming on here and talking about that are like 10 out of 10 masterpieces, like I don't sell those games. Like those are keepers if I ever want to go back to them. So all right. Well, Charles, let's move into the news. We do have a few things to talk about this week. So
All right.
first story is Dead Space 2 remake. So Jeff Grubb, um, he basically reported that Dead Space 2 remake was in development at EA Motive and has since been canceled, subsequently canceled recently, um, because the first game didn't sell enough, which is funny. We'll get into that in a second. But
Yep.
then there was this whole back and forth between him. EA came out and said there was no truth or validity at all to Jeff Grubb's reporting. And then IGN came back, which they're the ones who got the comment originally from EA, but then they came back and reported that Dead Space 2 remake was actually never in development. And that's why they're saying it's false. It's just this weird back and forth that happened. Ultimately, I don't think the semantics on the reporting matters. The ultimate result is that Dead Space 2 remake is dead. It's not happening.
Which is a shame because that's one of the best ones.
It is funny though that it's because of lackluster sales, because this is the exact same reason 15 years ago Dead Space 2 got turned into more of an action heavy game than a survival horror game, and led us down the road of the Dead Space series getting just like shelved basically after Dead Space 3.
Well, it was actually it was Dead Space 3 that went completely action.
Yeah.
Um, but Dead Space 2 was actually really good. It was a nice blend. It was a good middle ground in my opinion, and it's kind of a shame because the Dead Space 1 remake is really fucking good.
Right. But we
And
did get that, right? They can't take that away from us. We did
yes,
get that
exactly.
game. So
Well, I mean, they can. I mean, we'll see later on, but still.
oh, that would be insane. No, I don't expect that. But you're right. They could technically take it away from us. We have no protection against digital reclaiming, I guess I'll
Mhm.
call it. I don't know. So but no, I don't think EA would do that with that game, obviously. And even if they did, it would be a long time from now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of people though argue that Dead Space 1 is the best game in the series. And we did get that remake at least. So and
Yeah.
maybe they'll revisit Dead Space 2 at some point. But it just sucks. It's like the same story, right? It's like survival horror game doesn't sell 10 million copies. Oh, kill it. It's like,
Well, it's the inflated budget, but
yeah, but have you learned anything, EA? Like, has EA learned anything over 15 years? Like,
nobody has, man.
clearly no.
It's the same thing. I I think they don't know. We don't know how much they put into Resident Evil, right? But I think they keep their budgets for Resident Evil relatively contained. Capcom does, and that's why they are able to turn over those games the way they are because their budgets is contained. And I think people thinking they're putting like billions of dollars into those games when they're not.
Right.
So I think EA poured a lot of money into this game, and it didn't sell as much as they wanted to sell. Because even there are stories like for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that it's not meeting Square's expectations. And I'm like, what did you want? Did you think it was gonna sell 20 billion copies? Like there's only like 40 or 50 million PS4s or 5s out in the wild right now. So
Yeah.
you're not gonna get that. The install base is not that big right now. So what are you expecting? Like what are people expecting? I just don't. I'm trying to understand. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well, yeah, but it is going to be interesting. I'm actually very curious about Stellar Blade, because did you see the stories out there about the demo for that game outperforming Rebirth's demo
no.
like significantly? Like there's like 2 to 1 or something,
Oh
like in
shit.
terms of downloads. I will say I do put a little grain of salt in that, because I think there's a lot of people with Rebirth that just wanted to wait till the game came out
I was one
and
of
didn't,
them. Yeah.
yeah, and didn't want to fuck with anything, regardless of the fact that you could bring progress over. And I was one of those people too. So That might be part of it. Whereas Stellar Blade's kind of an unknown quantity, and nobody really gives a fuck about like spoiling that game for themselves. So I don't know. I put that a little bit of. I take that a little bit with a grain of salt. I will say though, if Stellar Blade even approaches Rebirth sales, that will be a significant shock to me. In terms of like, I would not expect that. You know, it's a new IP
Yeah.
from a unknown, not an unknown, but I'd say relatively for like the regular normal gamers, relatively unknown developer. That would be a shock if it was going up against Final Fantasy.
I think it's gonna sell really well just because of the Gooners. Uh,
Yeah. Well,
they're
Sony's
gonna,
pushing it really hard too.
yeah, yeah. I think because of the Gooners, they're gonna push this game like, and the controversy behind the game, and I really don't care either way, like how you feel about it. I just this is a video game character at the end of the day. As long as it's not like a fucking child or something like that, like I don't fucking care, man.
Well, like
Like
I said, it's a bait. Like the body of the character is based on a real life model. So I don't know what everyone's getting bent out of shape about. The developers just decided that they wanted their main character to be hot. Why is that a controversy? You know,
that's
I
what I'm
don't
saying.
know.
I don't get it. Like I don't care. But I'm actually glad it didn't gain a lot of traction or whatever because they were trying to stir up that drama and it came and went like that. At least for me on
Yeah,
my side as far as
right.
that.
No, I agree. I haven't really heard much about it since the initial, um, since it initially popped up. So,
Yeah.
all right, fair enough. Well, Dead Space 2 remake for the time being is not happening, so that is a bummer. All right, moving on. Montreal, our next story is Take Two. The story of 2024 is layoffs, layoffs, and layoffs, unfortunately. And Take Two is the next company joining that group of companies laying employees off. They announced they're laying off 5% of their staff over the course of the year, and it's going to be roughly 580 total jobs cut. There will be games getting canceled, projects getting canceled. They're restructuring their teams as part of this layoff. And they're doing this obviously to cut costs in some way, which is interesting given they're probably about to make $15 billion off GTA 6, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, more layoffs, man. I was looking at the calculator, the or the tracker for 2024, and with these numbers, it's going to be around 9,500 for the entire year so far, which is now only 1,000 behind last year's total number for the entire year.
Okay. I so when stuff like this happens, like if they do have stock, I look at the stock, and it looks like their stock has been falling over the last month, but over the last 6 months, it's still been in the green, but it has been falling. So I think
Yeah,
this has a lot to. This is why they're laying off people because of the stock. It was at an all-time high in February, I believe.
yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry. Nope, it wasn't at all-time high. The all-time high was back in 2021. It was at 200, but now it's at 140.
Jesus, God, Take
Yeah,
Two's worth that much? What the fuck?
yeah,
Well,
man.
I will say this article does mention that Take Two has posted net losses for 7 straight quarters. So
Okay,
that is
that makes a lot of
probably
sense.
part of it
Yeah,
for
that makes a
them.
lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of these companies like EA is worth 125.
Oh, I know. Activision, I mean, Activision's worth a lot too, or was,
Yeah,
I guess.
but yeah, I mean, this makes a lot of sense. So, um, I don't know. It sucks. Like you said, they're probably gonna make all their fucking money back, like as soon as GTA 6 drops. That come out this year, doesn't it?
No, next year.
Okay, next year. Okay.
But it does feel a little preemptive, right? They're getting ready for that massive profit drop to happen.
Well, I think they're. Well, I can't say that because GTA is releasing on all consoles, right, and PC.
Yeah.
So I was saying like maybe they're preparing for the low install base. But even if it is, they're doing just next gen. There's still a relatively lot of amount of people that have Xbox Series X's and Xbox Series S's and PlayStation 5s, and on top of that, the PC market. So I
Yeah.
mean, they're gonna make a lot of money
I
back.
mean, they're
So
going to make, I mean, let's assume let's think about this. Like PlayStation right now, I think is around 55, 60 million PS5s out there. And there's
Yeah,
probably another year and a half until GTA 6 comes out. So if they sell, let's say another 20 million in that time, I mean, you're in the 75, 80 million range at that point. That is a pretty saturated install base for a console. I would feel like there shouldn't be a lot of fear of that at that point for Take Two. And I'll be honest, if GTA 6 sells anything less than 25, 30 million copies, I would be pretty surprised by that. I mean, like Elden Ring and Hogwarts Legacy were in that range, and they're not
yeah,
GTA. So
yeah, exactly.
I would expect GTA to probably blow past those games, even though those games were on both platforms. I think last gen and this gen.
Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind. I think GTA is going to be like a record setting game,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah,
People have been waiting for this shit for about 14, 15 years now.
yep.
Um, yeah, it's actually a household name. It's as violent as the game is.
Which is hilarious. Think about 20 years ago when politicians were like, and Fox News was like, Grand Theft Auto, you shouldn't let your kids play this game, and it's like now it's like the biggest fucking franchise in video games, probably.
It's funny. I just think that shit's funny. Yeah, like all the prostitutes you can do and all that stuff. You can beat up people and kill them. And then you remember the Mass Effect controversy when it was on Fox News, and they're like,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh my god, you can have gay relations." I'm like, and you look back at it
I
now, and you're like, "Dude, that's nothing compared to."
Oh my god. Oh yikes, dude. Yeah. Jesus. Oh my god. How fucking that's so fucking embarrassing. Those people,
Man,
I wonder if those people like still hold those views now that like did that
yeah, they
shit.
still try. I call it the boomer gamer take. They still try to say like, you know, um, gamers are more violent because of video games and all that other stuff. I don't think that's ever going away, and I think it's because of the Columbine attack, and because I think those two people, those two uh, murderers, they played Doom, and they associated Doom with the Columbine attack and everything like that. So I don't think it's ever going away, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Well, I expect more layoffs at this point.
Yeah,
It's just what we're dealing with this year. The industry is contracting. It feels like
yeah.
right now, and in a couple years of stagnant sales growth will do that to an industry. So, all right, Montreal, moving on. You alluded to this story already. So this one's fun. So the Crew is a Ubisoft racing game. It came out in 2014. I actually remember it being fairly well received when it came out, but this game is the servers were shut down at the end of March, and with it, that means the entire game because the Crew is not playable offline. You cannot play the single player uh, without being connected to the Ubisoft servers. So when they turn the servers off, they basically turn the game off. And with that, Ubisoft has started in the subsequent couple weeks since the end of March has actually been removing the game from people's libraries on the Ubisoft launcher store, their kind of digital storefront. And so this is kind of a weird conversation, right? Because I think removing a game that people bought from their libraries after it's shut down or whatever, in a normal situation where the game is playable after that moment, this would be a slam dunk. This is bullshit. They shouldn't do this. However, this game's not playable in any form after they shut the servers down. So this is a little different. Them taking the game away. Now that does mean that fans cannot, because there was some hope with the Crew when the announcement was made that people might stand up fan servers and enable the game to be playable that way.
Mhm.
Them taking the game away like this does kill that for sure, but that is not a legal thing to do with a game. Now, even given that, though, a lot of companies do allow fans to kind of run some kind of post-mortem version of the game. This has happened with other games like Halo. It happened with, I think it was Halo 2, famously
Mhm.
back in the day. Fans
Yep.
like stood up servers, and I think those are still going on now. So, it has happened with major games before. So I don't know, Montreal. Like, what do you think of this one? Like, do you feel like Ubisoft should let the game continue to be downloaded, even though most people can't play it.
I,
Or,
I
or
think
the
if you can't play it, then no, they shouldn't be able to download it. But I do think it sucks that you're. What if I never bought the Crew 2 and it says on their storefront on Steam, like, oh, go play our new The Crew 2. You can play that. I guess you get the same experience, or but a little bit better. But it's like I bought the Crew 1 though. Like
yeah,
I don't want to buy the Crew 2 because now, in my opinion, you're telling me to buy the Crew 2, but then what if you just shut that game down?
right.
And to be fair, the Crew 1 is relatively old. I think it's like 10 years old or something
It
like
was
that.
2014. Yes, it is 10 years old.
Yeah, so because I remember I was still back in Detroit when DJ was playing the Crew, and I thought that shit was like fucking amazing. He's like, watch me drive from fucking New York to L.A. or whatever. Um,
Yeah,
so he did that, or whatever. But yeah, I still think it's bullshit though. I still think they should have made an offline version of the game. I don't like it
yeah.
because it sets a bad precedence. I think like it just. What if I wanted to continue playing Destiny 1? Destiny 1 is not shut down, I don't think. I don't think it's not shut down. I think
I
it's
don't think
still
it is.
going.
I think it's still up. It's still up.
Yeah, but what if I wanted to continue playing Destiny 1? Excuse me. And I can't anymore. I put like 5,000 hours into that game or whatever. All
Yeah.
my progress is gone. All my money is gone. Everything I put into that game is gone because you're like, oh, we can't support it. And this is the problem with one live service games, and then two digital games. They can just take them off the storefront. Um, Another thing
Well,
is,
even in the case of a disc, though, in this game's case, like you can't play this game
yeah, you can't
even
because
if
it's a
you have
live
the
service
disc.
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Right.
it's a live service. So, um, I I don't think I think players, including us, because we do it all the time. We partake in live service games. Um, I don't think we're thinking about the consequences of these games. Like these games do need offline versions. Like
Yeah.
I think Helldiver should have an offline version. I think WoW should have an offline version. I think Final Fantasy
Really?
14.
Okay.
I think all these games should have some kind of offline version,
Interesting.
and I
Okay.
think they have the infrastructure and the money to do it. You can have NPCs running around, especially
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 14.
No, Final
Is
Fantasy 14 should definitely. I think there is an offline version actually they might be working on.
okay
to yeah.
because I mean I don't know. Free to play games, that's the gray area because it is a free to play game. Um,
Well, I was gonna bring up gotcha. Like I've seen gotcha games come and go in this way where they're unplayable. Like you remember Dragalia Lost?
yeah,
That came out, I don't know, like 2019 or something. That thing shut down like a year or two ago. Like it's gone. You can't play Dragalia Lost anymore. Like oh, and I was like, holy shit, dude. Like that's crazy. That's fucking crazy. You know, and eventually like Fire Emblem Heroes, same thing's gonna happen. That was always a consideration with new gotcha games was like how much time do you really want to invest in this game that might not live very long, you know? It might be around for 2 years, and it's like, do you want to invest time and then especially money into a game like that where your purchases will literally just get deleted, and you don't have them anymore. I'm a little bit more. I think with the live service games, I'm a little bit more lenient with those because the intent is for them to be online, right? Even
yeah,
Destiny, it's like a kind of a pseudo MMO, right? Like an MMO, having an offline version of an MMO is questionable because a lot of the point of the game is to have other people running around and do stuff with them, right? But the Crew is not that game, you know. Like it's a game that has a single player campaign, so the fact that you design this game in such a way that you can't play it offline, it's like bullshit. Like Diablo 3, I think was, originally supposed to be always online. You couldn't play it offline. And that's fucking garbage. Like, what's the fucking point of that? You're literally you're just making it so that when you do eventually close the servers down, you're fucking your fan base for no fucking reason. Like you could have designed this game in a way where it had an offline mode,
yeah,
or you could even have developed it now, and it's like they didn't care to do that. So while I don't begrudge a company running something like an MMO from shutting their servers down, and obviously the game's unplayable after that, this isn't that. This is not that game, that kind of game. So to me, it's more of a design thing, and I think, I mean, we have pushed back on always online games, as a community. I feel like as gamers, but um, I think we still need to continue to push back on that. If a game doesn't need to be always online, then it shouldn't be. Diablo 4, I think, is a good example, right, where it isn't always online. You can play that game offline. But I don't think that was Blizzard's original intent. They changed that after Backlash, right? And learned their lesson from Diablo 3. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I just I don't know. Maybe it's just the old person in me talking. I don't think kids, gamers today, really care. But I did read an article or somebody posted something saying that the average gamer is 33. So I mean,
man,
games are still tailored around us, in our generation.
well, that's what I was talking about a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right. A lot of younger gamers aren't really gaming. A lot
They're
of younger
playing
people aren't.
Fortnite. They're playing mobile games. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, I don't know. It's just a weird thing. Honestly, I can not to be like grim, but I can see gaming dying in maybe 15, 20 years. You know,
The way we're
um,
playing it, that's what I. Yeah.
yeah,
Right. Like games like God of War and the last, like that kind of stuff
yeah,
might not exist in 40 years.
yep.
I
I
don't know.
100%
Kind of
agree.
it's kind of an interesting thing because yeah, these companies are just going to chase the money, dude.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, so I don't know. It's kind of an interesting situation with this one, but I think ultimately the blame does lie with Ubisoft for not designing this game in a way where it could be played offline. I just think that's fucking stupid. So, all right, Montreal, moving on. Hasbro, oh, our favorite company. What a shining beacon of how to fuck up Magic the Gathering. Hasbro is talking about they were asked by PC Gamer, sorry, they were talking to PC Gamer about the future of Baldur's Gate and that they are currently in talks with quote lots of partners about the future of Baldur's Gate. Um because Larian is walking away from Dungeons and Dragons. They are not making Baldur's Gate 4. They don't want to make it. And they're making their own games plural actually now,
Oh,
so
excuse me.
bless you. And so here's the quote: we're talking to lots of partners and being approached by lots of partners who are embracing the challenge of what does the future of the Baldur's Gate franchise look like. So we certainly hope that it's not another 25 years as it was from Baldur's Gate 2 to 3 before we answer that, but we're going to take our time and find the right partner, the right approach, the right product that could represent the future of Baldur's Gate. We take that very, very seriously, as we do with all of our decisions around our portfolio. We don't rush into decisions as to who to partner with on products or what products we should be considering. End quote. Montreal, do you think Hasbro is a trustworthy enough company to shepherd Baldur's Gate the way it's been handled so far, where we've gotten three what are largely considered great games in this franchise?
Uh, I hope so, but you know Wizards of the Coast better than I do, and
Yeah.
from what you guys, my Magic the Gathering crew that I don't play, but I listen to y'all all the time. Y'all hate Wizards of the Coast, and they make very bad decisions. I think this is a good decision, but this was a decision they made 10 years ago,
Yeah.
or however long this game's been in
They
development.
got lucky, dude.
Yeah,
They just got lucky with Larian, like completely. They didn't give a flying fuck. They were just trying to make a quick, easy amount of money off of Baldur's Gate, I think, at the time.
yeah, and
Larian just happened to be the right partner who took it very, very seriously. You know?
yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think. Actually, I think the franchise Baldur's Gate. I mean, I know it's Dungeons and Dragons, but like that sub franchise Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
I think it's 3 for 3, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
No, all
yeah,
three games are great.
yeah. Um, so I played Baldur's Gate too, but yeah, I think 3 for 3 they're lucky. If they get a fourth one, then maybe there is someone in Wizards of the Coast who actually cares. Um, but I
Yeah,
actually
but I
want
think
to
they
talk
look at it
about.
as I think they look at it as cash now, like a cash cow they could exploit.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's what I'm worried about is whoever they give it to, right? What are they going to do with it? Are they going to make another CRPG? Cuz I don't know if that's a guarantee, you
I
know.
mean, they may do what Bioware did. I mean, it was a kind of a ARPG type deal. They may make it an action game, or you know, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see
Yeah.
that.
Um. the thing is the thing I'm more impressed with is Larry and just walking away. They made all this money and I'm like, all right, we're not making another one. Like I don't know. That company has a lot of integrity to me. That's a really cool
They have
company.
big balls, is what they have.
Yeah, man. They're they're not. I don't think they're doing any like extra DLC or anything. They're just gonna walk
Nope,
away from the game.
nope,
And I
nothing.
and yeah, that takes a lot to just say. I'm pretty sure Wizards of the Coast is like throwing money at them. We'll give you $1 billion
Could
towards this.
print money. Yeah, it could
Yeah,
print
like
money, dude, if they wanted it to. Yeah,
yeah, like so I actually commend them. Like I think while it sucks that Wizards of the Coast is looking for somebody to make a fourth one already, and the game hasn't even been out for a year yet. Um, I think it's really ballsy for I'm sorry, Larian to just be like, all right, yeah, we just wanted to do one, and that was it. Like a lot of companies don't
yeah,
have the balls to just do that. You know, I mean, one of the people in this group, BioWare, they're making another Mass Effect game after making one other Mass Effect game when the trilogy was supposed to be it. That was the story. You know, what other stories did they tell? You know what I'm saying? And now they're making another Mass Effect game. The only game that wasn't really finished was, in my opinion, Dragon Age. That story wasn't finished.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, Mass Effect is done. So why are y'all making another one? They like a lot of these companies just don't know when to say no. And maybe Anthem was their version of saying no, like we want to do something else, but they made Andromeda.
Ugh,
But
yeah,
I don't know. I do commend companies nowadays. I mean, the companies back in the day used to do it all the time, right? They used to be like, "This is it, and we're going to go to another franchise or whatever the case." But now, we have like we have the Call of Duties, the Maddens, and stuff like that, where those games are going to continue to go on maybe forever. And it's like, what else can you do or whatever, Then you have games like Final Fantasy and I even say Elder Scrolls, to where the world Final Fantasy is a anthology. Did I say that
yeah,
right? Right? Yeah. So Final Fantasy is an anthology. And then Elder Scrolls, that world is so huge where you can tell multiple. There's still stories that need to be told in that world, that you can do. And I even say to a certain degree Fallout as well. Um, but yeah, I'm just glad Larian decided to walk away. Like that's really cool.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. With my experience with Hasbro and Wizards and Magic the Gathering, I just don't think they have the restraint to not drag the franchise through the mud. Like I said, I think they got really lucky with Larian when they had no care in the world about Baldur's Gate at all.
Hmm.
They didn't take it. I don't think they were taking it seriously. I think it just was a shot in the dark, and then they didn't really give a shit what happened with it. They got fucking super lucky, that they found a partner who is as good as Larian is, and you know, I I think, like I was mentioning with Magic, like they have they are so hit or miss with their products. It's gotten crazy. There's been, how many sets have there been this year? One, two, three, four so far this year. And I would say one of those sets was absolute dog shit. One of them was really good, which is actually the one that just came out. They did a Fallout collaboration that was pretty good, and then there was a remaster set at the beginning of the year that was like probably kind of middling, I'd say, in terms of sets. And it's like they're not consistent. Their quality is just not consistent at all. There's some products that are really good, and there's some products that are fucking terrible. For Magic, and it sucks because they charge the same price for all of them. you know, that's not even true. Too, some of them they fucking charge like a super crazy premium on them for no reason. Um, so it's so given that a lot of that decision making is coming from Hasbro, I don't trust them with Baldur's Gate either. So we'll
Yeah.
see. It really is going to depend on the partner they find, the studio that they work with. If they decide, something like Obsidian, then sure, I think we could end up getting a fucking awesome game. But if it's somebody that doesn't want to make a CRPG and they either force themselves to make a CRPG or they decide to make some other genre out of this that doesn't make sense for Baldur's Gate, um, then I'm highly skeptical. So I don't know. We'll have to see more. We'll need to wait and kind of see how it plays out. But at first blush, I'm not super optimistic. So, all right, Montrell, let's move on. Mike Ibarra, the former president of Blizzard, had some interesting comments this week on Twitter about being able to tip in games. And I'm just going to read the quote. So, quote, at the end of a game, I've often thought, I wish I could give these folks another $10 or $20 because it was worth more than my initial $70, and they didn't try to nickel and dime me every second. Some games are that special. Games such as Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, among other games. And then he says, I know most will dislike this idea. I realize we are tired of tipping and everything else, but I view this different from pressure to tip type scenario many face and give feedback on, end quote. So, Macho, this got a lot of, I think, negative press, but what are your thoughts on this idea?
I actually agree with him. When the game isn't trying to nickel and dime you, people are more willing to give you money. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we see that all the time. I mean, to me, in my opinion, um, Helldivers is one of those games where I do buy the microtransactions, but they're not egregious. I don't even need them. You don't even need them because they really don't advance the game at all. But I may buy like a $5 pack here or there
Mm-hmm.
because it's like a tip to the developers. I think in some ways, Capcom games are like that.
Yeah.
I could spend $2 to get, you know, 100,000 orbs, which is a lot of orbs in Devil May Cry 5. And it only costs like $2 or something like that. You know, those little tiny microtransactions. And I feel like those are tips to the developers saying like, yo, thanks for making this awesome game for me or whatever the case may be. So I actually don't mind that. I think that's a really cool idea. The problem comes into place where the tips become like mandatory DLC type stuff. Like, oh, you want an extra life? Ooh, give me $1, you get an extra life. Like, okay, now, do I really want to do that? Like, I don't know. It's just a way to do stuff in games, to where if you just make a really
You
great
just
product,
described arcade games, by the way.
that is true. That's true. That's true. But it's an arcade game.
It's so funny. The
I
original
didn't.
microtransaction.
I'm paying 25 cents to play this game for however long. You know, I'm not buying the game. I didn't buy it. I didn't
Right.
buy an arcade game. You know.
I mean, it's a different experience. It's
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is. I mean, some people might say that. Oh, well, you guys play arcades. It's like, well, I bought Sonic, and if I had to pay $1 to get a life every time I played the game that I bought, then that's not cool. Like, that's kind of crazy. Now, if the game was great, completed, and it was like one of the best Sonic games ever, and they're like, hey, if you want to put $2 towards, extra Sonic skins or whatever the fuck or whatever, I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll do that. Like, that's cool, whatever, because the game was really great or whatever the case may be. I don't know. It's just a certain way to do things. I actually agree with him. Um, as far as like single player games and like complete experiences, because there are certain times where even when I play the Mass Effect collection and I'm done with it and I'm like, man, I really need to tip them because goddamn, what a fucking ride, or I'm playing The Witcher or something like that, and it's like,
Yeah.
thanks, or something of that nature. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
think it's viable.
I don't. In the form he's saying, I don't think it's viable. I think the other problem is that a lot of these games that he already mentioned already kind of have tipping in the form of like DLC and stuff. Like Horizon has DLC, God of War has DLC, Elden Ring is about to have DLC. Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't, Red Dead Redemption 2, I actually don't know with that game, but it's like, so if that's your idea of tipping, there are already ways to do that in a large majority of games. And I think the other problem is tipping culture in general, I think, is actually a very toxic thing in the food service industry, because um there's a lot of like legal stuff that comes in with tipping for one in a lot of countries, but we all know that waiters and waitresses don't make a full wage. They survive off tips that they get. And I think if that kind of culture like came into games with this kind of thing, like that would be really ugly, because like how do you, man, then you're like guilting people into like paying paying for a tip after they beat a game to like pay the developers an actual like livable wage. Like that would be fucking bullshit. Also the second thing, let's say that didn't happen and it was actually just tips and it just went to the company. How are we like gonna actually trust that it gets to the developers, and how would they even divvy it up, as well? That's like the other thing. So I don't think this concept really could work in games the way he's described it. I think microtransactions, as much as they're a negative in a lot of ways, like they are a positive in the sense that like I've played games, where like Dota is a good example, or League even, where they're free games, even if they're not free games though, like where I like the game enough where I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'll throw you guys another $20. Like this game, I've gotten so much joy out of this game, and it's like, why not? I want it to keep going. So I feel like it already exists in some way in the industry. I don't think we need to ham fist like some other alternative way. Also, how hacky would it be to like go through a game, play a game, this beautiful experience, and you get through the credits, and then at the end a screen pops up, and it's like click here to pay $20 as a tip to the developers. It's like it just would be really not a great.
Yeah, like I
I don't
said,
think it would be a great experience there.
if it was a way to do it, I would do it. And like you said, there are already microtransactions the way they do it now, especially for like Devil May Cry and Resident Evil. I think those are really in now. Even fucking Dragon's Dogma too. Um, I think those are good ways to do it. Um, but there are I don't the tipping culture in America is certainly different from other countries.
Yeah,
Other countries, I think the waitresses and waiters make full wages, like they don't live off of tips.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Out here, where they have some kind of loophole to where oh, your salary is included in your tip or whatever the case may be, so they
Right.
literally live off of that shit, and it is inherently toxic. It's toxic for the consumer, and it's toxic for the waitress or waiter, the server. The only person that benefits is the restaurant. That's literally it.
Literally. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it is. I definitely I can't sit here and say I don't see both sides. Like just hearing you talk about it, like I definitely do see why people were upset with them. I think it's a good topic to talk about, but I think a lot of culture will have to change before we can implement it in video games and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the greed will have to be taken out of it. And we have to make sure that even if it's the old game, like say if I play Mass Effect right now, right? It's not the legendary edition, it's the original 3 that came in the PS3 packaging or Xbox 360 packaging. And that button was still there and live. Like would that still go to the developers? What if the developers aren't around anymore? Then
Mm,
who does that go to? Does it go to
yeah.
the publishers? You know?
Yeah.
And I don't want to give it to the publishers. So it's like um yeah, it's a very tricky situation, you know.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting discussion, but I have seen some indie devs like on Steam before where their game's in early access and they have like a buy us a coffee DLC, and it's like $5 or whatever.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's cool. Like
you
it's
know,
indie, you know.
yeah, and that kind of thing. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. It's an optional thing. If you don't want to buy it, then don't buy it. So I don't have a problem with that concept, like the idea of like paying the developers for nothing, like you don't actually get anything in return. I don't have an issue with that if that's presented, so it's just I don't want to see that out of Sony or EA, necessarily, because they're making money fucking hand over fist. So I don't know. It really would depend on the context. So,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
all right, Montrell. That's it for news. I did put a topic in here. With the Fallout show coming out recently, there has been a lot of dialogue about Bethesda's Fallout and their version of Fallout. I haven't watched the show. I don't think you've watched the show.
I
We,
haven't.
we have
I'm
no
gonna watch it.
context on that. I am
Yeah,
too. But I wanted to talk about this because it feels like there has been a significant divide has really been created. Not by this show, but it seems like in the intervening years from like Fallout 76 and Fallout 4,
Hmm.
with Fallout, that there is just like a really deep divide between people who prefer the Obsidian games versus people who prefer Bethesda's games. And that is like a really become a really toxic conversation. So I kind of wanted to talk about, I don't necessarily care about the toxicity per se.
Yeah.
More what do we prefer in terms of Fallout? Obsidian style or Bethesda's?
Um, that's a really good question. I think both of them. So I'm not gonna lie. I actually think both of them do things very well and very differently. I
Yeah.
think Bethesda is really good at world building as far as visualizing a world, a visual
Mm.
world.
Hmm.
And when I say that, a lot of people, including myself, I include myself in this one. We played Fallout 3 and then we went to New Vegas and we were like, ugh, like this is not a good game. Like, what the fuck, or whatever. And the reason why is because Fallout 3's atmosphere is hell of a lot better than New Vegas. New Vegas is really, literally just a wasteland desert. Like, that's it. And
Mm.
the major problem I have with New Vegas is, uh, unless you have mods, you can't see far off points of interest, right?
Yep.
In Fallout 3, uh you can see a lot of the points of interest. You can see, like, the memorial, is it called a memorial tower or
Washington
whatever?
Memorial.
Washington Memorial. You can see the Capitol building off in this place. You can see the new Coca factory. You can see all these other places while you're running around. And I think they did a really good job at nailing that atmosphere and nailing like the points of interest that you can go into, nailing how creepy it is and everything of that nature. Whereas New Vegas, it felt like it was already established. So of course the West is already more advanced in the East as far as New Vegas lore, right? So the East Coast is still kind of developing, except for like the Boston area or whatever. But the rest of the East Coast, they're still developing and everything of that nature. Whereas like the West Coast has already been through like several wars. By the time you reach Fallout 3, the West
Yeah.
Coast has already been through like several wars and everything like that.
Yep.
And everything of that nature. And now they're expanding west or expanding east or whatever. Um, so uh, I think just from that angle, if you approached it like that, right? Uh, I can see why New Vegas doesn't harp well with people, right? Because it doesn't feel post-apocalyptic. It feels, this is a post-apocalyptic, but we already know how to live, and we already have like a civilization that we can go
Well,
to,
people have
right?
been calling it like post apocalyptic,
Yeah, yeah. So,
like where civilization's like rebuilding. You know.
exactly, and that's what New
Yeah.
Vegas feels like, right? New Vegas feels like we got the NCR, we got this, we got New Vegas, Mr. House himself, and everything of that nature. So, but the thing that comes with New Vegas that I love, right, is not only do you build off of the world, they expand around the other parts outside of New Vegas. I literally wanted to learn about all of California, all of the West Coast, or not all of California, but all of like New Vegas,
Hmm.
Utah, and everything like that, because the
Yeah.
world was so fleshed out. The characters were like godly fleshed out. The writing was just phenomenal. And the people are like, what do you mean by the writing is phenomenal? Like, your character had agency, and the way your stats rolled out, it was way better. Like, your speech made sense instead of your speech in like Fallout 3, right? It was okay in Fallout 3. It's not as bad as Fallout 4. But in Fallout 3, in Fallout New Vegas, your
Yeah.
speech like actually made sense. There were certain scenarios where you would go down a whole different quest tree, because of your speech, or because you know how to tinker with something, or because you know how to do this or that. Um, there were just so many branching opportunities and things of that nature. There was a boss fight where you can literally talk your way out of the boss fight. There were several boss fights like that where you could just talk your way out of it. Like, you
Hmm.
were actually role playing in New Vegas. And I will admit, it was almost like The Witcher, right? I had to play it a second time before I was like, oh my God, I fucking get it. Like,
Yeah.
I fucking get it. And that was the same thing with New Vegas. Well, I would say New Vegas is also played too, right, by the stigma of it being fucking buggy as shit when it first launched.
Yeah, it was really bad from what
Yeah,
I remember. People,
yeah.
some of the things people described were hilarious.
Yeah, no, it was bad for me too. I had a game breaking
Yeah.
glitch and I stopped playing the game.
No, yeah,
It,
there was one with like the cowboy hat where you like had to play the game with the cowboy hat on, or you couldn't play. Like your game would just
yeah,
crash or something. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
So I do understand it, and I'm not gonna lie, I understand it from that point. I think people are getting into the series though. I think, or if you joined in like 2010, because that's when they kind of fixed everything. If you join like the Fallout universe in 2010, I think by far, bar none, New Vegas is just better in my opinion. I feel like the world building fleshes out the POIs, so you know why the POIs are there now. Whereas in Fallout 3, it was just random POIs, in my opinion, right? It was just random POIs. And they kind of didn't have any connection. But like
I felt
I
that way
felt
about
like,
Fallout 4.
yeah, exactly, right?
It's just like we have the landmarks, right? We have Fenway Park, we have Boston Common, we have
And I
fucking
know for
this
you it was
suburb and
personal
this
because you grew up in
suburb.
Boston.
Yeah, and it was just so stupid, dude. Like they're located like in ridiculous places relative to
Yeah,
what's there in real life. Obviously it's a video game, but still it just was what you said is exactly right. It didn't feel connected. Like it just felt like a bunch of POIs shoved in a map, you know?
yeah, and which is really weird because I felt like Fallout 3, even though it did shove a bunch of POIs in the map, they still felt relatively connected. And in Fallout 4, there was to me, I think the thing people can conflate, and this is where I think the true separation of Fallout fans happen. Excuse me, my allergies are going crazy, y'all. I apologize. But I think the true separation for Fallout happened in this regard, right? Fallout New Vegas was an excellent blend of the current style of Fallout as far as action and combat
Yeah.
and role playing and storytelling. Um, I feel like Fallout 4 and 3, even 3, right? Even 3, they got a lot of things right. The writing was still really good in 3, in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
the water chip thing was stupid. Let's be honest. That shit was fucking. Well, the water chip thing. I thought that was. I'm sorry. That wasn't. That was Fallout 1. The water. Your father going to the water tank and trying to give water to all of the capital wasteland. I think that was like kind of weird. I think Fallout works when there's not a savior mentality, and the problem
Mm.
is Bethesda always writes a savior mentality within their games. Whereas New Vegas, you were just a carrier, and you were like you got thrusted into the situation. It wasn't your whole situation or whatever. And you could say that too for Fallout 3, right? You're like, well, you were just looking for your father or whatever.
Yeah.
And but in New Vegas, you can just like forget everything, like, oh, whatever. I don't fucking care about anybody. Blow up the entire town if I want to. I don't fucking care. I can get a chip to Mr. House. He can do whatever fuck he want to do. He can take control of everything. Like you have so many choices, whereas in Fallout, they don't give you those choices. And then especially in Fallout 4, the ending is pretty weird. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But the ending is pretty weird in Fallout 4 as well. Like with you looking for your son Sean, and then the simple fact that you couldn't even name your son, like they already named it for you, Sean. It's like, okay, I guess I would have named my son Sean. My middle name's Deshaun. I don't fucking know, But it's like Fallout 4 in particular took so much away from role playing, in my opinion. Yes, you were a soldier. You used to be a part of these, declarated, platoon or whatever. And I understand they set up lore because they do the same. And like, well, Montrell, you do the same thing in fucking Mass Effect, where you're admiral or whatever the fuck or whatever the case may be. In not admiral, but you're a soldier. You already have your established lore when Shepard is made and everything like that. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel like in Fallout 4 they didn't give you that choice. You can make decisions. Um, but the voice acting limited a lot of your decisions. I think you still should have been a silent protagonist. Well, not a silent protagonist, but you just pick your text, and then the NPC will respond to your text with voice or whatever. I think they
Yeah.
should have just continued to do that. Another thing is, I think people really misunderstood, especially Bethesda, understood what Fallout was or is or was rather. I think everyone thinks Fallout is pew pew crazy wacky guns with monsters and we're just going crazy and it's this quirky little 1950s type world in the 2000s and woo, like it's the 1950s version of what 2000s would be or whatever the case may be. And it's like that's not what Fallout was. It
Yeah.
was that it did have quirky guns, it did have quirky monsters, it did have quirky shit, but it was all satirical. And the problem is, I feel like Fallout 4 started the shift from where this the satirical nature of the game became the game, and you're like, okay, like
It became like goofy, you know.
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like Bethesda's version of Fallout is very goofy while trying to be serious at the same time sometimes. And I don't I don't like the vibe personally. Like it doesn't work for me as much. I don't know. At
yeah.
least it didn't in Fallout 4, I guess is what I'll say, you know.
Yeah, they lean too heavy into the whole, I don't know what you call it, like that 1950 like commercialism type
Yeah.
deal. Like, hey,
Yeah.
do you want to be a Vault Tech person? And they just kind of lean into it
Oh,
a
and the
little bit too much.
music, the 50s music too. They play the shit out of They play that up so fucking hard, dude. Like, I don't know, like to an obnoxious degree. It's like I don't know. Like it's like they want to make fun of the 50s but take themselves seriously at the same time, you know, and it
Yeah,
just
so I always took Fallout as this is what the people in the 50s thought we would be in the 2000s, right? That's what I
right.
take it as, right? That fantasy, that sci-fi fantasy, and I accept it for what it is. But it's also like I don't want to be like I said political, but it's also the original Fallout's and even Fallout 3 in New Vegas were essentially like making fun of like anti-capitalist. It was just making fun of like America, right? But in a satirical but serious way, or whatever the case may be. If you play Fallout 1, you play Fallout 2, um, even Fallout 3 with the giant robots, die liberty, fucking red commies and stuff like that. Like it was taken to a satirical nature to where it was like this is what brought us here. You know what I'm saying? Like this is why we're here, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And I feel like from what I heard of the show, it does that too. It follows those roots, and people are fucking upset about that. Um, and I don't know. I don't like 76 because it's a live service game. I don't think it works well with Fallout. People are telling me like there are people who literally like one of my good friends, one of my best friends. He said, "Well, 76 is better than 4 now." What? Are you fucking kidding me? And it's like they didn't play it on release. And I mean, the game may be fixed now. I played the game on release. I think you had to buy the game, if I'm
You did.
mistaken.
You
And I
did.
bought the game, and I was upset, and I played that game. And I'm like, I'm never touching this shit again. But there are people who live and die by the game now, because they fixed it, or they quote unquote fixed it, and they have a good crafting system. And it's like I never wanted to craft my own settlements. That shit started in Fallout 4, and don't get me wrong, I like it. I like doing the crafting, but it's not like it takes away from the role playing at this point. Like now it's a survivor game, and I didn't want to play a survivor game. I wanted to play a survivor in the wasteland, if that makes any sense. I wanted to just role
Hmm.
play.
Yeah.
But now you're turning it into Rust, and I don't want to play Rust. I don't want to play Ark. I
Yeah.
don't want to play Ark in Fallout. And even 76 is not necessarily like that. It has robust storylines, and now all the NPCs are voice acted and everything like that. But it took them 7 years to get that. You see what I'm saying? Like that's
Right.
crazy to me. That should have been in the base game. So um, I understand why it's so toxic because uh, Bethesda, like you said, does this quirky like look at these wacky guns and look at what all the mutants heads you can fire off and woo guns and it's crazy out here. Whoa, look, welcome to the Capital Wasteland or whatever wasteland you're in this particular Fallout. Whereas Bethesda was like, yeah, we got that, but we also have the factions and why the factions fight each other or why they don't fight each other. How your relations to the factions are, or whatever the case may be. Uh, if you put on certain outfits, a certain faction will be more hostile towards you, towards each other. If you help this NPC, that can start a whole chain reaction across the world. Like Fallout New Vegas felt like a really connected world. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
not even bullshitting with you. It did. Um, Three a little bit felt like that. Uh, and then four, like I didn't get that vibe at all from four. I feel like four, each mission was like its own separate thing, and I kind of accepted it for what it was. And on top of that, they changed a lot of the lores as far as the guns and everything. All the guns look fucking goofy as shit. Like you said, it just looked fucking stupid. I didn't like how they changed a lot of the guns lore, the way they looked and everything. And uh, I actually did. I did like the power armor, how they
Yeah.
changed that,
Yeah.
but I didn't like. I felt like I didn't earn the power armor, and then other NPCs had their own version of power armor, and I'm just like, that's not what power armor is. Power armor is like reserve. You have to train for it, and you have to. And one can say like, well, your character was already in the army before the bombs dropped, so he has that built into him. He already knows how to do that. But it's like, okay, cool, but I shouldn't get the power armor my second mission out of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like it.
Yeah. Again, that's like, this is Bethesda, right? Like they're just like, I feel like this is like Todd Howard's in a room and they're like spitballing ideas and they're like, what if we could make give the players power armor? That would be
Yeah.
fucking awesome, and like that's why it's in the game. Like,
Because
that's
you know what, I like when they did in Fallout 3. Like you couldn't get it until like you're like 50% through the game, and then you had to get power armor training, and then
yeah.
because you can pick it up, but you couldn't wear it because you had to get the training for it. And I like that, and it was the same way in Fallout New Vegas. I just don't like it. Was like you said. I think Todd Howard was in the room. They're hey man, would it be cool if they can do this? And they're just like, yeah, that would be fucking cool. Would it be cool if you can, take down a Deathclaw like 2 minutes into the game? Yeah, that would be fucking cool. Oh my god, that'd be fucking awesome.
We want our
What it-
players to feel powerful.
yeah, exactly. I think this is the difference between Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Fallout 4 feels like an Elder Scrolls game in Fallout,
Yeah.
and I'll probably get flamed to hell for that. But
Yeah.
I don't mind the power fantasy in Elder Scroll games. I kind of think that's what the game's designed around.
Yeah.
You are the Dragonborn. You are this one. You are that one. You're the okay. I can deal with that. But in like Fallout, you're a survivor. Like
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be the all powerful person. And I felt like Fallout 4 was Elder Scrolls or Skyrim, but Fallout. That's what it felt like to me.
Mhm.
And I didn't like that design choice, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, Fallout is kind of weird. I don't know why I care so much about this franchise because I haven't really played that many of the games actually. Like I've never played 3. I've never played 76. I've never played New Vegas. I haven't watched the show either. I've played 4. I played it for about 20 to 25 hours and really did not come away liking the game very much. I couldn't stand it at a certain point and kind of gave up on it. And I played 1, which is a CRPG. It was made by, I think it was Obsidian actually. Um, I think they made 1 and 2. Or
Well,
maybe it was Black Isle.
it was the
It was
former
Black Isle.
teams.
Yeah, it
Well,
was Black
I've,
Isle. I think the name of the studio was, but it was
yeah,
people who went to Obsidian eventually.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I played Fallout 1. I've never beaten it, but I've gotten very deep in that game a couple different times, but I've never actually beaten Fallout 1. Fallout 2, I've played to a limited degree, not a ton. I did not get super far in that game either. So it's kind of weird that I feel like I have this attachment to Fallout, given that these facts that I like haven't actually played the series all that much. But I just think the thing is like, I feel like I need to play through all these games at some point to really like educate myself a little bit deeper. But in terms of my impressions of it, like I think I largely kind of agree with most of what Montrell said. I just feel like Bethesda's version of Fallout is goofy. And I remember Fallout 1 being very dour. Like it's a very dark game and there's not a lot of happy fun situations happening in that game. Everything in that game is kind of fucked up. And I specifically remember, and I'm going to spoil the game a little bit. So if you don't want to hear this, jump forward like a minute or two. but there is a point in the game where you run into super mutants for the first time.
Mhm.
And in Fallout 1, that super mutant encounter is one of the most dangerous things in the entire game.
'Cause their movement speed was crazy in that game. I
Dude,
remember
they
that shit.
like their models are literally 3 times the size of your character on the screen. And this is a CRPG, so you're looking down from an isometric view, but they are all fucking jacked. They're huge, they're fucking tall. They got rocket launchers in their hands. They got heavy ass fucking machine guns. Like they are armed to the fucking teeth. They are dangerous as fuck. And there's an encounter where you get captured by them and you get taken to their leader and you spend an entire there's a whole conversation tree where you talk to their leader, and it's one of the most tense things in the game because there are multiple outcomes to that encounter and many of them end in them killing you, where you don't even get to fight. You
Yup.
don't get to fight. You just get a game over screen conversing with them, where if you don't say the right things, they turn you into a super mutant and you kind of lose your agency. Like you're not you anymore. Like that's considered a game over state in the game. And that conversation tree has multiple outcomes that end up there, and then there's outcomes where you talk your way out of it, where you get out of it peacefully. There are outcomes where you have to fight them in an actual combat encounter, and that combat encounter is insanely hard. Like insanely hard. It's probably one of the hardest ones in the game from my memory of it, because you are fighting extremely powerful, physically powerful enemies that are wielding equipment that you don't have access to yet that is super strong. Like if you win the encounter, you end up becoming a god because you get all this fucking loot that's crazy good in that game. But it's such a memorable moment for me in Fallout because it's like those super mutants, they're not just like crazy people. Like I mean, they are crazy people, but they're crazy in the sense of like they are hyper intelligent beings, like way smarter than you could ever be. But they're also insane. They think they're like they want to like fucking take shit over, right? Like that's what their whole goal is. But it's just a really powerful encounter, I guess, in that game. And there was
I'm
nothing
sorry.
like that in Fallout 4. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was another thing too. They kind of bastardized some of the lore. Um,
Yeah. Oh, I remember super mutants not being like that
yeah,
in
in
Fallout
in
4.
three in three they were like dumb as shit.
Yeah.
In New Vegas they kind of kept it a middle ground. Some of them were really smart, and then some of them were really stupid. But yeah, continue though. I'm sorry.
So that's kind of the difference, though, in tone that I'm talking about. Is I feel like Fallout 1 and 2 took, and New Vegas sounds like it's kind of like this too, where it kind of takes the setting a little bit more seriously. It is a parody in some ways, but like when you're in the game playing the game, the characters in the game are taking themselves seriously. Like they're not speaking from the perspective of that they're in a parody.
Yeah,
So like it's kind of a straight laced interpretation of what would happen in a world like this, and I just kind of prefer that interpretation of the game, or rather this world personally. Like I think Fallout is at its best when it's like it is dour. It is that like really dark kind of tone, and it's more. I'm not saying like super gritty, like it's super gory and like scary. I'm not like necessarily saying that. I'm just saying that
no,
like
you just said the
it's
story
more.
takes itself seriously, and
It does
that's
take itself seriously, which I don't feel like Bethesda's games really do that
yeah,
personally. So
because I agree with you. In New Vegas, there's one moment where you're talking to Kaiser or
yeah,
Caesar.
I think he's called Kaiser. They don't.
But he is called
Yeah,
Kaiser.
because they don't know that pronunciation.
Exactly, but that
um,
isn't that like a
yeah,
really cool world building type of
detail. It
deal?
is a
Yeah.
detail. Yeah, it's a detail. It's a cool detail. Right.
Um, and yeah, it was very tense. It was, and even when you he talked about his like one of his like number twos or whatever called the Burning Man, and then you go do his DLC, the Burning Man DLC, and there are people to this day. What's that character's name? Fucking goddamn it! I'm sorry. Let me look it up real quick. But there are people to this day. Fallout, Burning Man, Fallout, New Vegas. Joshua Graham. I don't know how I forgot that name. But there are people to this day who have converted to Christianity over Joshua Graham. They play Fallout and they're like,
Wow.
what this man is saying, makes so much fucking sense. He became peace because he found Christ or whatever. And it's like he's not even preaching to you, he's just telling you through what he experienced and how he found the Bible. And it's not, I'm not even trying to be religious, y'all. I'm just saying. Like that's the world building, right? That's the world, like that's the character building, his character arc. And you have no choice but to be like, holy shit, like this dude understands what it feels like, what it means. He read the Bible front and back and everything like that. And now he's protecting his sheep, his flock, or whatever the case may be. And he has to teach his flock how to fight and everything. And it's like these Native American type people who came out the vaults, and they were kids when he found them, and he just been protecting them ever since. And he taught them how to fight and everything of that nature, so they wouldn't get by the other native tribes in the Nevada area, or no, I'm sorry, Utah area, or whatever the case may be. So they won't get fucked with or whatever. And the tribe that he's with, the tribe that he's looking over, they're a passive aggressive tribe, or they're a passive tribe. They don't fight at all. And he's like, you guys need to learn how to fight. So it's like your character and your character's coming into the middle of that conflict, and you can actually influence either way. You can actually kill Joshua Graham, or you can kill everybody, or you can teach the flock how to fight, or whatever the case may be. But there's like parts of this story where Joshua Graham, like y'all can look this shit up. There are people, YouTube videos, and like Reddit threads of people like, I actually left Christianity, and this man turned me back to Christianity. Like that's how powerful that character is, and
That's
his
fucking
voice
crazy.
and everything like that, bro.
Yeah.
Um, there are like motivational videos just because like AI and shit like that have this dude talking, which I don't agree with, but like that's how powerful that character is to a lot of people. Um, because like when you play the game, you're just like, dude, like this guy means a lot of business, and then the philosophies that he gives you, it's like, am I playing a video game, or am I watching a fucking lecture, or am I in uh, a philosophy class or something like that, right? Because you're talking and you're just going through like this philosophy of like self-defense and non-self-defense and passive aggressiveness and passive and peace and what is peace, and you know and everything. And he's seen the light because we used to do a whole bunch of terrible stuff, and God saved him where he was down in the ditch and everything. And this tribe, these people saved him and didn't know him from two people, didn't know him from 2 cents and everything. And then he found the Bible and everything like that. Like, right. It's just crazy. And then even in that DLC too, there's a whole DLC that's nothing but notes that you find. It is like one of the best stories that notes have ever terminals have ever done. I haven't even touched a story that's even close to it. I think there was one story in Fallout 4 that comes close to it, but it's about a guy who's in the you know in the mountains when the bombs drop or whatever, and you find his gear and stuff like that. And the since the mountains kind of protecting him from the fallout or whatever the case may be, he was like, I was driving down the road, bombs hit, saw a couple on the side of the road, eyes burnt out from the flash. uh they were sitting there holding each other. It was an old couple. Put two through their head to end their misery, kept going. And then like it shows this guy's whole adventure and how he found that actual flock that Joshua Grant was taking care of. And he's like, oh, I found these children, going to take care of them. And um it's to the point where he took care of them, and because he used to be a soldier, and he took care of them without being seen. So like it was children, and they were like, we have no food. He would go hunt for them, and then when they're asleep, he would bring them food. So then they would pray to this guy,
Mm-hmm.
and who they thought was some kind of god, but it was just him. And then 200 flash forward 200 years later, and it's like, oh, I read the notes. I know who this guy is. Like this is not a god. And to that tribe, he's a god because he took care of them, or he took care of their grandparents and everything when they couldn't take care of themselves or stuff like that. And it's just like, that's lore. That's world building right there, because I could absolutely see kids being taken care of without, or kids who need stuff, but there's somebody taking care of them. but he never reveals themselves. He's just taking care of them. Here's food, and then you wake up. There's food there. You wake up. There's supplies there for you. You wake up. There's this there, and you're just like, where's this coming from? And it builds this like kind of lore where it's like, oh, it has to be God, or it has to be some type of God helping us or looking down on us or something like that, or whatever the case may be. And I think that was like one of the best DLCs Fallout has ever had. It's just, I don't know. And Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3 has nothing that touches that, in my opinion. Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 4 rather has nothing that touches that, in my opinion. There are some good stories in there, but they just don't touch on that story like that or whatever. And I think that's where a lot of people they miss out on shit like that because they can't see past what Bethesda. It's not Oblivion with guns, like they can't get past that
Right.
point.
Yeah.
So that's my soapbox. I'm off my soapbox, but that is one story. I didn't even tell the entire story. Like what I'm saying. So like when you play it, you're gonna be like, you know, it's just really cool. I think everyone should play New Vegas, and it's exclusively that DLC, the Burning Man DLC. It's just one of the most phenomenal DLC storylines ever, and that's just great writing, and that separates Bethesda, Obsidian's. That's the moment I became Obsidian fanboy because I'm like, if they write their games like this, holy fuck! Like all their other games must be fucking fire. But unfortunately, they're not. I mean, Outlanders is okay. Not Outlanders. Outer Worlds is
Outer Worlds. Yeah.
yeah, Outer Worlds is okay. Um, it's
Pillars
more
of
so in
Eternity
the
is good.
yeah. Pillars of Eternity is good too. Yeah.
Just don't play it
Um,
on PS4.
but
Jesus Christ.
yeah,
What-
that's and for what I hear, Grounded is phenomenal. So yeah,
Pentiment. I've heard really good things about Pentiment too.
yeah. So
I actually really want to play that game. Um, Kind of happy it's on PlayStation because I can just pick it up now and play it whenever I feel like it. But yeah, no, it's off. I think my issue with Obsidian nowadays is it just sucks. Like I feel like ever since they got acquired by Microsoft, they're kind of just off. They're like grazing, Like I don't think they're doing anything like I don't know. Like Outer Worlds to me is like I don't care. Like it's like their version of trying to make a Fallout game, and I don't want that out of them. It's like they already made a Fallout game. I don't know. So it's kind of weird, but in terms of Fallout itself, I don't know. I think the franchise under Bethesda's stewardship has kind of gotten away from what makes it interesting, I guess. I don't like where they've taken it. They've turned the Pip Boy, the Vault character, that iconic kind of imagery, and they've kind of made it like almost jokey, and I don't know. I just don't like it as much. And like Fallout 4 specifically, I think part of the reason I fell off the game so much is just like you said earlier. I'm from Massachusetts. I lived in Revere, which is a suburb of Boston. It's like 10 minutes away from the city driving. And I know the city decently well. I'm not like super well versed in it, but um it was really jarring in that game because Boston is a metropolis, right? Like it's a city with skyscrapers, like a lot of skyscrapers. It's not a sprawl. It's very condensed. And when you get to Boston in Fallout 4, there's not a single skyscraper in sight. And it's fucking weird. And I get it. It was a PS4 game. There were probably hardware limitations to some degree, but it was extremely jarring for me, like to kind of exist in that world and just see a city that they're telling me it's Boston, but it doesn't really look like Boston. And yeah, I don't know. It's like because like Fenway Park was cool. Like I think they did a pretty good job with Fenway Park and stuff like that. Um, but when you look at and then like you look at it and the size of the city is like tiny, like it's small. It's not very large in the game. And Boston is a pretty big city. Um, and it's just I don't know. Like the game just I couldn't get past that when I was playing the game. So I feel like if I'm gonna play Bethesda's Fallout again, I need to just play 3 maybe and try that a little bit more. And because I think that takes place in Washington D.C., right?
Yes.
Yeah. Which I've actually been there twice, so I might end up having the same problem where things don't look right.
They're
But
not, because I've been in Washington D.C. They condensed it down a lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But that is a PS3 game. I can actually forgive it a little bit more than I can Fallout 4. That's a PS3 game. They were working with very limited resources at that point, so it's a little bit more understandable there. But yeah, so I don't know. I want to watch the show, but I am going into it unfortunately with a bias of some sort, that I'm kind of expecting this to be Bethesda's show, and I don't, like I said, I don't necessarily like Bethesda's version of Fallout, so I'm not sure I'm gonna love the show, but we'll see. I do want to watch it, so I do plan on watching it for sure. So, Montreal, anything else you wanted to say on Fallout?
nope, that's it for me.
All right, fair enough. Fuck, man, there was one other thing I was going to mention to you that I don't remember what it was. I lost it. That's all right. We've been going for a couple hours. And it's pretty late since we started late, so we can get the fuck out of here. Montreal, did you want to try to guess Hellblade 2's Metascore, or do you want to wait one more week?
I'm gonna wait one more week.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, let's get out of here then. All right, guys, if you like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show, whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01 at gmail.com. And that'll be it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week.